guys, we are back for another edition of The Black Child. My name is Luki and I'm your host today. Taking a recap from the last edition, we talked about rape and allegations, where we learned the different ideas with the individuals that participated on this. And today we're going to be looking at another topic in a different lens. And I've got my co host here.
Hi, I'm Irene, and today we're going to be talking about absent parents. And obviously, that could vary from physically, emotionally, psychologically. So,
Stay tuned. The topic, what it speaks to me is being an elderly parent. That was all. I mostly grew up in boarding school, so I never got to see my parents a lot. So obviously, with the bonding and obviously spending time with them and all that stuff, it's something that as a black child I'll always yearn. But then at the same time, I had to understand with obviously some things that we're going through at that time that had to be placed in that environment. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that?
For me, it's an area that challenges me a lot emotionally, considering that I lost my mom when I was very young,
Right.
7 years old. So I've always had that absent side of me of not having my biological mom with me. So sometimes to unpack the disadvantage of someone, it's also good to look at the advantages of it. Because I have friends that have always had their parents around them, and I see how they're very balanced in terms of emotionally and even just physically, mentally. Um, it's also depending whether they're Christians or not. The spiritual side of things, parents play a big role to it. So for me, for a very long time, I thought I wasn't balanced on the emotional side of it, not having my mom there for me and someone that would understand me emotionally because my father was as big as I am. Is just a dude where it's always
Was the iron hand?
yeah
The military.
the military
Do as I
mindset.
say. Don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions. Thank you. So it's a broad topic,
Yeah.
but I'm very excited to also learn from you guys and hear your thoughts. I don't know, Irene, what do you think?
I think for me personally, I'll probably say no, but what I was thinking about the other day, like, Africans, right?
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to our parents, it's very like the fact that it's like I'm providing for you, like that's enough love. Like that's all the love and support you get. But when it comes to actual, I feel like certain relationships, it's not as strong, or like the emotional support side. I feel like it's not as much as when you see with other cultures. This is what I've noticed with because it's kind of like I'm not your friend, like I'm your parents, Yeah.
Do as I say.
Yeah, so it's kind of thing like you live in my house, you live by my rules,
Yeah.
and that's that. Like, what do you mean feelings? What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah, that's actually true because I think also, like I said, for me, growing up in boarding school, obviously, as a young child, you growing up in an environment where you need obviously, the motherly love and obviously a father who's gonna be there to sort of, hold your hand when you go through a little crisis and all that. And having be obviously, as kids, you go through this little crisis and chuck tantrums and you don't even understand what's happening in the world. And obviously me being in boarding school and surrounded with all these other kids, none of it is making sense because some of these kids don't even like you and all that. And obviously, you'll be thinking as parents, and you'll be thinking, hey, why did my parents have to bring me in such an environment? Like maybe there's something that is wrong with me
Yeah.
that I have to be placed here where I know it's obviously good for you for school and all that stuff. But as a child, you're thinking, I have to be around my parents. I have to see my mother. I have to be with my brothers and the aspect, the physical distance that you have between your parents tips into the emotions because now you're thinking, oh, maybe, they don't love me that much. They had to cast me away, you know. They had to cast me away. They had to put me in a place where I'm with these other kids that are not loved also. So obviously that sort of pushes the frame of you having that gap, even when you come back from, from obviously when you close terms back in Africa, we do 3 terms, come from term, and obviously, the excitement is in maybe in the first 1 or 2 days. But then on the third day, you feel that void because now you're like, okay, I'm back with my parents, but then something feels different, and in a way that helps you become stronger. But then at the same time, it always leaves a lingering question like, so these people, every time that they get fed up with me, are they just gonna drop me to that place again? Or is that something that they're trying to teach me? So you having that confusion and you carry that hurt every time when you hit a crisis and when you miss them. That's why I would look forward to visiting days. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the system is in visiting days and you'll be looking there waiting for the parents and then they don't show up.
I think with that one, it comes back to what Irene alluded, where it's breakdown of communication.
Yes.
That's how I see it. Because in our African community, our parents, what they express as love is, I'm buying you food, I'm taking you to school,
Yeah.
then they consider, I love my child.
Mm.
But the human nature, naturally, we don't just respond to actions, but we respond to words.
Yeah.
Especially
Right.
if you're a child, you respond more to affirmation.
Yeah.
So when you expect your parents to tell you that I love you, I still remember there are days when I would talk to my dad and I message him and I said, I love you, and this guy doesn't reply. And you think, come on.
Thanks.
And one time I was in Zim and I said to him, it's not gonna make you less of a man to just say I love you. But in a lot of African homes,
Yes.
it's not a language that you hear. Even just seeing our parents just showing love to each other, it's rare.
It's very, very rare.
It's very rare. So then you see a situation where your dad doesn't tell you he loves you, and they just throw you away in school in the bush where you can't come back home easily.
Mm.
Then you start to think to yourself, what's happening? And now when I look back, it's because statistics have proven that what happens to a child between the day of birth up to about 9 years determines a lot on how they're gonna go, how they will turn out to become.
Mm.
So those are very pivotal years of a child. So when you don't install that emotional side of things, because if you look at it in our culture, our parents just focus mainly on the career side of it.
Oh yes.
You're growing up to be an accountant, you're growing up to be a lawyer,
Doctor.
and if you don't go according to their way, already they view you as a rebellious child, and there's already drama.
Or sometimes they view you as a failure because
Thank you.
they don't accept that you want to be different from the things that they think. So,
I feel like when it comes to
it's
the
another one.
words of affirmation, I feel like they reverse it. It's like, be like, you're stupid, or they just, if they call you names, it's almost like they're toughening you up. It's like tough love.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like you're gonna grow up, and then it's like you're gonna be this successful, great person, and it's like to them, I don't know. I guess that's them showing love or affection, but it's like crazy that you don't like realize how much it would affect the child, like growing up, especially words of words of affirmation. Like I feel like to a child, it's kind of like, and words actually really they matter. There was this experiment. I think it was a doctor or a scientist. So he was experimenting with words of affirmation. So he took 2 plants, and literally they had the same amount of sunlight, water, everything was the same.
Yeah.
But one plant, he pretty much spoke, words of affirmation, and then the other one spoke very negatively.
Mhm.
And the one that he spoke negatively actually died, which I was like, that's crazy. So it just proves that the words have power. So I feel like as a child, if you're hearing you're stupid or just a lot of negative, it's like it's gonna affect you as you grow up, your adolescent years, and that transition of you becoming an adult, it would affect you. But I feel like parents don't think about that.
I think we also need to understand them. Also considering the generation of our grandparents.
True.
You see, it's
Yes.
I believe they were not also taught,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
I look at it as ignorance. And for me, one of the things that I still remember vividly, one morning I woke up and I reached out to my dad. I was in so much trouble financially, emotionally. Things were not working well. And I reached out to my dad and say, things are not well, not because I wanted his money or anything. But I still remember just him sending me a message to say, son, I love you. And no matter what happens with life, you never run out of options and always know that I'm there for you.
Mm.
I still remember, like, till today, like, the emotions that I felt there, I'm feeling them as I'm speaking. Like, I opened this message and I almost dropped a tear. And I thought to myself, maybe someone took my dad's phone. This can't be him. And I started to think maybe he was drunk. You see how bad it is.
There's a shock that
There's
you don't expect.
there's a big shock of you don't expect it. But at the same time, I feel like for me, coming to Australia, just being out far away from my parents, has also made me to realize how important they are. Because when I was in Zim, there was one point in time where I so wanted to be far away from them.
Yeah.
Because we never agreed with a lot of things with my dad, exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
Never a guy that wanted to listen. To him, it was always just one way. Like, I grew up loving playing cricket. And my dad would even say, you can't play cricket. All my kids should go to school and be something. So there's a lot of fighting and battling that was there. And
Yeah.
I still remember even my older brother would always fight with my dad. But now he's also in his old age and he looks back and he thinks, I wish I'd done things different. So it depends. The absence of parents can be negative to other people, and to some people can actually be a positive impact where when you're away from your parents, you face the real world and it makes you to open up. And on 100 times, you always find yourself back to them and falling in love. So in that, I'd love to pose a question to you guys.
No, please.
No. Oh.
By all means. By all means.
So how do you think we should help our parents to be aware that their presence is more important than their absence? Because Luke can be here as we are right now, sitting next to me, but very absent. And that's what I feel happens with our parents.
Yes.
They're physically there, but they are emotionally absent. They are unaware. Like, and most kids, they are in love with the fantasy of the parent who's not there as compared to the parent who's there. So what can we do also as kids to help our parents to be aware of what we feel and how best can we present it?
I think first we definitely have to acknowledge and try to see it from their perspective or walk in their shoes, because like what you were saying before, I guess they can't really give you what they don't even know how to give themselves, because it's like it's a generational thing. Like if you think about it, like their parents, they were probably treated in a certain way, and then their parents, it goes on. So I feel like if anyone is to make the change, it would be the children, because I feel like kids are definitely more aware and are open, like they have more perspectives, or like just they've seen different perspectives. So I feel like it'll be the children that would kind of take that first step towards the parents, like to help, whether that might just be talking or actually you taking the initiative, like things like what I've noticed. So like now that I'm older, I actually have a relationship with my parents. Bro, well, before, when you're younger, it's like you just do as you're told.
It's chaos.
Like you don't speak, you speak when you're asked to speak. You know what I mean? But now it's like, I don't know, like I'll go on a date with my mom, like, we'll go out for coffee, get our nails done, like go out to the movies, go shopping. But it's like in the younger days, like that wasn't a thing. Like you actually work on actually having a relationship.
You're making me jealous.
No, I mean, like, I think you just have to be intentional. And even like with your siblings, like just because we're related or we're blood, but like you actually have to be intentional about the relationship. Like just the name family isn't enough. So I feel like the kids are the ones who take the step to, and parents will follow. I feel like parents will adapt. Like I feel they would adapt.
So with that, given for my instance, where I feel like I've lost so many years without my mom around, then how do that get fixed? should I go say, oh look, let's share your mom? Uh, no, but we're laughing, but I'm being real. Like,
No, I get you.
like I know a
understand.
lot of guys where, to be frank, guys, is some of the things that parents do, they don't realize how it can affect us when we're older.
Yeah.
Because if I never saw my dad saying to my mom, I love you, holding your hands, showing affection, how am I going to love this girl that's now in my life when I've never seen it?
Yeah.
That's a good question. And I think the best way is to what Irene was also saying is the fact that if we take the first step to do these things and show them that it's not always that they have to feel that they have to be just physically there and not have something that is touching the soul, touching your heart, touching your emotions, like just being there, doing things together, spending quality time. Because we look in the environment that we're in right now, it's really said that a lot of parents are absent and they don't even know about it, like what you're saying. So I think the step that we have to take is do these things like, you know what, I know I'm busy or anything, but I'm going to take this time to just sit with you and just talk. Mom, let's just talk. I feel like there's some topics that we can talk about. I feel like there's some things that we can do. And the fact that you did not have to experience that, right? You should also take it as a lesson as to something you should do to make that change. Because I think a lot of times that people that we do is we tend to carry over this hurt. Right? I never had this. I never had that. So I don't know what to do about it. Like every day that we wake up, that we breathe, that we go to work, that we go to school and everything, we're learning. So we are yet to learn all these things, incorporate it, and that's how change begins. Because if we get stuck with always like, oh, I don't know about this, so I'm not gonna pay attention to it. What we're doing is just reversing the same cycle. We're just going to the same cycle as always until the day that we say, okay, you know what? Maybe let me try this. Let's see how far it goes. You know what they say, trial and error. If you try, it fails, keep trying again, because one day you get it right. And I'm pretty sure with your relation with your parents right now, it's as beautiful as ever.
It didn't just happen.
It didn't just happen.
I didn't just wake up one morning and be like, oh.
Exactly, but you worked towards it.
Yeah.
You invested in it, and now you can say, you know what? Even though I lost all these years, I'm able to talk to my parents. And as for you, I'm pretty sure maybe right now I'm not entirely sure that you still talk to your dad in that category and in that level yet, but I'm pretty sure if right now you to start and say, okay, you know what, Dad, I know there's a lot of years that we've lost going head to head and all these things, but you know what, today I just want it to be just about us. Let's just talk to each other without having to put all these rules, all these barriers. And you'll find out that even with the lost time that you had all this time, there are some things that you might even pick up and learn. And you'll be able to even show him that something tomorrow that when he goes out there, he's like, you know what? I know I've lost all these things, but I'm glad that I had to sit down with my son and I get to learn this thing, you know? So I think it's upon us.
I had to do it.
It's really upon us.
I'm so also firm. I had to sit my dad down and say, you don't also understand how the negative impact it has on us when we reach out to you and say, no, we care for you, and all you do is to blue tick the message and not say anything. So, but I also realized that it's also heavy on him.
It is.
You know, when it's coming from his kids to actually say, we love you, because it's not a language that they learned from their parents. So it's actually quite refreshing what you guys are saying.
It is.
So I think the other challenge that we have is, what are we going to do for ourselves moving forward? Because we also need to be the change. Or we're going to fall in the same trap that our parents.
I think if we're to have kids, like, you mean us having kids? Or like us as parents? Is that what you're saying?
For you to be a parent, you gotta have a kid.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean.
Well, okay.
No, I want to clarify. If it means like now or like when like we become parents.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now and when we become parents.
I feel like we would be great parents. You know, I feel like you have like literally best of both worlds.
I
Like you
like
have,
the belief.
huh?
I like the belief. I really
Yeah.
like it a lot.
I believe it. It's true. I mean, it's like, you know, you've got both perspectives. You know, you've got
Mm.
obviously your culture, your African side, you've got your Western. So I feel like you just pluck the good stuff from the two and merge into this amazing. So I feel like parenting methods are going to be obviously a lot different than what they were or what they are now. Like when
Certainly.
we have kids, I feel like it'll be very different.
So with the Western culture,
Yeah.
what sticks out? Because for me, I came to Australia a bit late. I was turning 20 or 19.
Really?
Yeah, so I never really experienced what some of you guys have going to high school and seeing how the Western culture is. So
Which is not all amazing. Obviously, it has its down.
Let's not bash the environment, people.
No, I mean, it's like, no, imagine the first time, I think I was like, I don't know, year 5 or something, or year 6.
Yeah.
You know, you go to your friend's house for a little play day, and little Jessica is like,
Mhm.
shut up, mom. I'm like,
Yeah, that must have been a very big cultural
I'm
shock
like,
for
are you trying to
like,
go to your grave? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So I think, obviously, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
But kids, like children, are actually very aware, and they're very intelligent little creatures.
Yep.
Even though we don't think about it. I think they literally say from like even when it's the baby's in your belly, like it's proven like you speak to your child, and when they're born, you actually like speak life into them and
Mm.
words of affirmation like this. They actually like they take it in and they're very aware. Like from like 2 or 3, they'll literally like pick up that mom and dad are not happy or something. Like they can like feel the energy.
Mm.
So I feel something bit different from the Western culture and the African culture. I think words of affirmation is something very,
It's
very,
very-
very important.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a big thing because, as you can see in this Western culture, a lot of the kids are always involved in the decisions that parents do, maybe on a daily basis, because with the Western culture, they incorporate their kids and say, okay, fine. Let's say I'll just put an example like in terms of I'll just pick a simple thing like shopping.
Right.
Parents don't just go to the shop and just say, we are parents, we know what's good for you, so we're just gonna go and buy it. And place it there, you have to just eat it as long as you don't get sick and as long as you're fed, whether you like it or not, you have to eat it, that's part of life.
Yeah.
Which is what we experience in our African parents. Due to obviously constraints in all the situations, you name it.
Mhm.
But here in the Western culture, they say, hey, you know what? We're going to the shops. What would you like?
What do you want to have?
What do you want to have for dinner? What would you like us to hear? What would you like us to get you? You know? And then the child feels that they're included and they feel like they are also important.
Yeah.
And they feel like, the parents are grateful to even have them. So that they, even when they say even a silly thing like, oh, you know what, I don't want anything, I want some lollies, and then they'll be like, oh. And even also the parents sit down and take time to actually talk to them, say, hey, this decision that you're making is not good for you because it makes you feel this way or it makes you look this way.
Mm.
Are you sure you want to be that person? It also gives the child the confidence to actually see life for what it is.
Yeah.
And to feel the love that the parents not only just saying no, and you should stick to that, but they also learn the no is coming from a place of we care for you, we're looking out for you, these are the effects and all that. If you choose to do it, that is now upon you.
Yeah.
But we have given the support and we've breathed life into you for you to understand the scenarios and everything that's going on.
So do you think the Western culture is the parent is more present as compared to the African culture?
In some aspects, yes. I would say the Western culture, the parents are more present in certain aspects. Not entirely everything, but in certain aspects. Because I'm pretty sure, like what Irene said earlier on, we just have to pick the good. Like in African parents, they don't know how to express their love to their children the way that we should feel it.
Because they
And-
do express it just differently.
Yeah, they express it differently, but yeah, you see, this is where we get to see the gaps now, where you feel like, oh, my parents not here and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then that's another type of love.
Yeah.
The tough love and all that, like I'm still feeding you, I'm housing you and all that stuff. You should be grateful, right? Which is correct. We should be grateful about that, and we should be grateful every day. But I'm pretty sure as a child, you're supposed to be, walked into some of these things.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're providing, but just know that, what? We care for you and we love you. You don't have to say a lot. It's just those fundamental words that you put to build a foundation and for them to understand.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure us, even as African kids, when we saw that, like, for example, when you talk about, your friend was all of a sudden back talking to the mom. Now you're like, no, you can't do that,
It's wild.
right?
You're
Because
crazy.
as an African parent, you're gonna get your ass whooped. You're gonna be
Yeah.
beaten, right?
So,
Which
so,
is
so for us,
less-
it's advantage. It's actually an advantage for us that if we combine the Western presence
Right.
of the parent
Yes,
with the experience of the African background,
yes.
we put it together, it actually turns
It
out.
actually turns out great because now you know what to do and what not to do because, like what Irene said, you have learned the best of both worlds now.
So what happens then like I want to say it right
No,
because
no,
it's
that's
a
okay.
very sensitive area.
That's okay.
So because a lot of kids now have been raised up with single parents,
Right.
which I must say, shout out to all single parents out there who are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy.
Much
I don't know.
respect.
I don't know about you guys,
Much respect.
but most of the people that I know amongst my friends, they've had the privilege of being with a mom and dad.
Yes.
But
Yes.
how do we then help those kids that feel like I've missed out on the years of my dad, or I've missed out in the years of my mom? Those who've been raised with single parents. How then
Well, actually-
do we help them coming from a African background where someone can, like what Luke you highlighted it to say, when there's unforgiveness it can turn into bitterness.
Oh yes,
Oh,
big
So
time, big time.
It's easy for
Mm.
someone to be so bitter
Yes,
towards their parent,
yes,
but I also believe that the primary reason why we are doing this is we want to reach out to everyone and to assist
Definitely.
everyone.
certainly.
So I don't know what you guys think in terms of what we can do to also assist those kids that feels like, oh, I've missed out on the years of my dad,
Mm.
and not feel as if it's the end of the world. Or is there a way that can be fixed? Forgiveness, is it available?
Look, it's not easy. That's what I was like. Forgiveness is, it's hard.
Mm.
I mean, like my parents divorced when I was 15. So they divorced when I was 15,
Mm.
and obviously that time was it was a hard time. You're in high school. It's like it was not good timing at all. Not that there's such thing as good timing for a divorce. But there was a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of bitterness. But I think it kind of comes down to a personal decision, because the way I see it, it's almost like you drinking poison and hoping for someone else to die.
Yeah.
But it's like, end of the day, the unforgiveness and the bitterness is really just, you're killing yourself essentially.
True.
So I think you just have to come to a place and accept it. And then obviously with the parent, like, so I sat down with my dad and we had a pretty long chat.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, you both have to be willing. So the parent obviously has to see their mistakes as well and apologize, and vice versa. And then I think from there on, step by step, you start rebuilding the relationship and working on it.